We are live with our season 2 first episode of the Andor Aftershow. It is Andor season 2 that is on Disney Plus right now. It's a new season of Andor. It's the final season of Andor, and they released all 3 episodes, or at least the first 3 episodes, all at once. So we're literally talking about 3 episodes. I'm your host, Dimithri Perera. We also got co-host
Sarah Zitney.
And no guest. So it's just 2 of us talking, but trust us, we are big talkers. There's a lot to talk about Andor season 2 episodes 1, 2, and 3, and then also just Andor as a whole, and then also just Star Wars as a whole. So thank you everybody out there who is with us on this ride. If you're out there watching us live, you're watching us on youtube.com/The Keeg Show or twitch.tv/The Keeg Show, or maybe you're listening to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts from. Disclaimer, podcasts right now for the Keeg are a little delayed because of technical difficulties, but we'll get it back on track soon enough. You want to get it done sooner, donate a couple $1,000s to me via Patreon, patreon.com/The Keeg Show, if you want to help with some technical difficulties. But as of right now, we got our live stream going on. It is every Saturday, from noon to whenever we stop talking. Sarah,
4 p.m.
You weren't my co-host for Andor season 1 like 3 years ago, right? You were a guest on an episode.
I think so. Yeah.
And now that it's been some time of you co-hosting some of my other after shows, what do you feel the big difference is between guesting and co-hosting?
I feel like I actually did not take copious notes. I just sat back and watched the show this time. So I feel a little like, I feel like when you come on as a guest, you have to like prove yourself. Like, I deserve to be a guest on the show. Yeah. But co-hosting, it's much more like, okay, I'm all right. I kind of know what I'm talking about. But I feel like there is a little bit more pressure to take a lot more notes when you're co-hosting, because you're like, I want to bring in topics to talk about, as opposed to like, you can ask questions. I'm just the guest, right? Yeah. So
well, thanks for co-hosting and guesting today. We got Roman Skywalker in the YouTube chat, and at first glance, it looks like Roman's saying shit, but actually Roman might be saying shill, but with multiple L's, and I can't tell whether it's a typo or not, or calling us a corporate shills. Are we sellouts?
I think to be sellouts, I would have to be getting paid.
I wish.
In which case, I would love to be paid to be an Andor shill.
Yeah. It's nice to get paid for things you believe in and you like, and you genuinely like. I can say right now, I've never gotten free stuff, or I've never gotten paid for something I didn't like, and then I lied about something I liked, and I've never gotten free stuff and advertised free stuff that I didn't like either. So
I feel like as a teacher, I've gotten paid to teach books I don't like. Which is not the most fun thing, which is why it's nice that I'm now in a position where I get to make my own curriculum and I get to teach a class about comic books. So
that's great. You're an educational
I get to indoctrinate them into reading Spider-Man. So
that's good.
Until an executive order stops me, I will continue to make them read Spider-Man.
Speaking about executive orders, Andor is a very different type of Star Wars show. How did you feel about season 1? And we knew going into season 1 that we'd get 12 episodes season 1, 12 episodes season 2, and that was it. We'd have to wait like 3 years to get a second season, but like, it's here.
I love Rogue One quite a lot. So when I heard about Andor, and it's the same, Tony Gilroy coming back for Andor, I was very excited, and I really liked season 1. I was one of those people that was in the comments of people that were like, it's so boring, and host like, how many episodes did you watch? And they're like 2, and I'm like, okay, watch 3. If you still think it's boring after watching 3, that's fine, I won't bother you, but please watch the first 3 episodes. So I really liked it. I loved Rogue One because of the idea of you know all these people are going to die, right? You know that
I
nobody's making it
didn't.
off. Scarif, like in my brain, I knew. Well, there was a moment in watching it where I was like, oh, they're really going to do it. Like they're actually going to kill everybody. Because
Yeah.
I thought, you know, maybe someone gets off planet and they go into hiding and that's why we've never seen them. And I'm finding myself in the same point with Andor season 2 where I'm like, I know that Bix and Brasso and B2 Emo, like these characters are not in the rebellion, right? So something has to happen. So I'm like, the ability to get you to care about a character when you know for sure that character is going to die is one of the most incredible things. And Andor is currently doing that. And Rogue One definitely did that. That
Yeah.
idea of I love these characters so much, even though I know they're doomed, is an incredible feat to get me to like shut off the rational part of my brain that's like, you know, these characters are going to die, and I was like, but maybe they don't. Which is currently happening to me with with B2 and Bix, where I'm like, maybe they'll be fine, but I don't think they will be.
I'm gonna throw a wrench in your plans. Okay, I'm gonna throw something at you. A couple of things. One thing is I went into Rogue One knowing the premise, right? And all these characters are new, and I was with my then girlfriend at the time, and I didn't expect them to die because I know that like just like whenever we get reintroduced to a new character, 5 years ago we didn't know, we weren't thinking, oh, these are all the characters that we know. They're all the characters that ever existed in Star Wars. So why introduce new characters? Because we haven't seen them before. But someone's only a stranger until you meet them, right? Like everybody's a stranger until you meet them, right? And so I expected, I didn't expect them all to die at the end of Rogue One. And when they did, I was like, okay, I get it. And I was crying because I'll link to that later.
I rewatched Rogue One last night,
Uh-huh.
and I cried. So
yeah,
there's no expiration date to feeling emotional about Rogue One.
It still hurts me. The Basco scenario. Shout out to the Basco scenario out there. Again, we're all here about the love of Star Wars. Whatever you love, no one's yucking anyone's yum. Basco scenario says Rogue One is the only Disney Star Wars movie that I truly enjoyed, which is a valid take. It's fair. I got thoughts, but what I was trying to say is, when I left Rogue One, I told my then girlfriend, not my girlfriend now, I was like, I didn't expect them all to die, and she was like, well, we don't hear about them ever again. Like this is a prequel, we've never heard about them, so she just assumed they died. And I was like, well, here's the thing, Ahsoka in Clone Wars.
Yeah.
I think everybody expected her to die because you don't see Anakin having a Padawan. Excuse me, Anakin having a Padawan. You don't see Ahsoka appear later, afterwards.
Right. The entirety of the Rebels crew, right? Like they all survive. Well, they mostly survive,
Right.
So yeah, it's not unheard of. I just like when it started.
In fact, it's more heard of. I would say.
Yeah, when it started happening, it was more of like they're doing it. Oh, they're really gonna do it type moment for me where I was like, wow.
Yeah.
And to get the Cassian that we meet in Rogue One, just once again, rewatching it last night, I was like, I am blown away by how handsome this man is, truly. But like how guarded he is and how like he's a professional, right? Like he's not fucking around. Like he's doing what he's got to do. We're introduced to him by like killing that guy. That guy's like, I can't go because of my arm. And he's like, no, hold on, it's gonna be okay. And then he just shoots him, and you're like, whew.
It's cold.
Like and watching him kind of get there is a very satisfying journey, especially because like he doesn't start like, it's not like Andor season 1 episode 1 he's like cuddling puppies, right? Like he's never 100% not the kind of person that would just shoot someone, right? Like that's how it starts, that's how the show starts. But kind of getting him to take that and focus it toward the rebellion is an interesting, like we're not doing a 180 with a character, we're just like taking this and we're focusing it. And
Yeah.
amazing.
Tying in with, I mean, first thing, I didn't know I wanted a prequel to Andor until it happened, and I was like, great. Because I saw him die, and I was like, okay, that's the end. And the question is, like, why do I need a prequel to someone who I know is going to die? Here's the thing, and this is why I cry for a lot of movies. It doesn't matter whether a character dies or not, or dies and gets brought back to life in whatever you're watching. It's what you do and what that character does when they think they're going to die, when they are dying. The fact that, like, when Peter Parker disappears in Infinity War, you know, out of all the characters, you know Spider-Man's going to return. Like,
yeah.
You're not killing Spider-Man. But the fact that he pleads for his life, he asks for Tony Stark to save him, and he can't. There's nothing to do. He thinks he's going to die. Hurts.
Yeah.
On the flip side, you have a character like Bruce Willis's character in Armageddon. Say what you want about the movie, whatever, it's cheesy or whatever. But when he dies and he sees the vision of the future, essentially like the wedding of his daughter that he will never be there for, that hurts me also. These are fictional characters.
I've never seen Armageddon, so thanks for the spoiler for a movie I was definitely never going to watch.
It's almost great just for that ending. So
it's also a thing where so my favorite musical is a musical called Hadestown, and it's a retelling of a Greek myth that is very sad. And they say it at the very beginning, it's a sad song, it's a sad story, but we're going to keep telling it. And the way that the music, this is not a spoiler, but the way that the musical ends is that the sad thing happens, and then it wraps back around to the start of the musical, and they essentially do the entire opening again. This idea that, like, I'm gonna cry talking about it. Like, we're gonna sing it again, and maybe it's gonna turn out different, right? Like, we're gonna start again. We're gonna tell the story again. So this idea of, we watched everyone die in Rogue One, and we're gonna tell it again, right? We're gonna give you Cassian again, and we're gonna make you care so much about him that maybe you're gonna watch Rogue One again, thinking maybe Cassian's gonna get out this time.
Yeah.
Right. So that ability to be like, this is a sad song, but, like, we're going to keep singing it. We're going to sing it again. Just like every time I rewatch Fleabag season 2, I'm like, maybe these crazy kids are going to get it together. It's so good. Fleabag is my favorite sad watch. Or, like, you know, those things.
I've seen Fleabag seasons 1 and 2, you know.
Or like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, right? Like let's do it again and see if it turns out better. Right. So this like revisiting Cassian and knowing the way it's going to end, but like almost like gaslighting yourself into like, but maybe, and like just savoring the moments you get with him along the way, like the happier moments. Not a lot of them in these episodes, but like savoring the time that you get with him, knowing that it's a finite amount of time.
Yeah. First things first, remind me, I'm going to send you a screenplay that I'm writing. Because I think that it might be up your alley. Anyway, that's a second thing. It just so happens that co-host Sarah and I are friends in real life. So
it's true.
You know, this is not just professional Regis and Kelly, you know. You remember Regis when Regis had Philbin?
Are they not friends in real life?
Regis Philbin died, right? Did he die? Anyway, we are getting off topic. So the Andor, it's funny because season 1, episodes 1, 2, and 3 dropped at the same time. Then we got each episode week by week, and they were the most excruciating weeks of my life waiting for a new episode to drop, because not the first 2 episodes are slow, 3 finishes off that arc, and number 4 is what sold me. Episode 4 when they start doing the heist, they start setting up the heist, and they start being in the hills on Aldhani, like that sold me.
Yeah.
And it was excruciating every single week after that. Now we're back with season 2, and they're dropping each 3 episode arcs as one little movie. How did you feel about just generally speaking, about watching 3 episodes all at once?
The experience of watching 3 episodes all at once was fantastic, because it was like, it was that thing of like, I'm sad that it's only going to last 4 weeks, right? Yeah. 4 weeks of Andor, but then a new Star Wars movie every week, right? Like and I was hoping, because I know that the reaction to season 1 was like, it's too slow, nothing happens. So I was like, maybe this decision to drop the arcs all at once we'll get more people to watch Andor.
Yeah.
Which I'm happy about. Right. And
And
I think
Basco,
that has succeeded. Yeah.
Basco is saying there's a year between
yeah, and I thought
arcs.
And I don't know why I thought this, but I thought it was like each arc is a year. And then I was like that. And looking back on it now for these first 3 episodes, I was like, that was stupid. Why did I think that? But it's like this idea that you're getting one moment in a year of the rebellion. Like you're getting 3 days of 1 year. And then we're going to come back and episode 4 is going to be 3 days of the next year. Right. And these little snapshots that we're going to get of that. I don't love that we're doing 3 of them at once. It was definitely, I think I saw Tony Gilroy say like it was a Disney Plus decision, not a Tony Gilroy decision. But at the same time, I'm thinking out like revisiting. I was like jotting some notes down for myself. I did not take the copious notes I normally do.
And sorry, I took notes.
Good. But like I think if you took episode 2 by itself, like if you watched episode 2 on its own and then didn't, I feel like that would have been like, okay, what actually happened in that episode?
Well, here's the thing. How does it
Which
start?
Like
how does episode 2 start and how does it end? Because this is the same problem that I have with like Netflix like MCU shows, is that like I can't discern the breaks in between episodes in my head.
Yeah.
I'm just like Daredevil season 1, Daredevil season 2, Daredevil season 3. Same with this. I'm trying to figure out the ending of each. End of episode 1 of this season, or yeah, this one is Andor getting taken by those rebels on an unnamed planet, which we'll get to. Episode
2 ends with him leaving the planet.
Oh, so episode 1 ends with the rebels killing each other?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
And then they're dragging him, and then we cut.
Yeah. Yeah.
3 is him leaving. Or 2 is him leaving.
2 is him leaving. Yeah.
And then 3 is going back to Mina Rao. And
yeah.
Okay. So thanks for the sub, Basco Scenario. Appreciate it.
Ooh.
If you're a Star Wars fan, if you're Andor fan, you gotta change your name to Brazo, the Brazo Scenario. R.I.P.
Oh. So R.I.P. I'm like that. There's obviously a very important conversation happening all over social media right now about that scene in episode 3. But at the same time, I'm like, well, nobody's talking about Brazo, the love of my life, who has died. Like I was like, there's an important conversation happening, but like, let's also take some time to pour one out for Brasso. Like I'm like, are we going to lose a character every 3 episode arc?
Well, here's what I'm thinking is that if your concern is that Bix will die, I don't think it's a done deal that Bix will die. I think it's a 50-50 shot. Bix can die, but I also wonder if the trauma that we're dumping on Bix, because we dumped even more in episode 3, whether it's a good thing to kill her off or not. Like I'm trying to figure out where the narrative is going in that respect. Yeah. But sure, we don't see her in Rogue One, but I applaud Rogue One for doing this. Cassian and Jyn Erso don't have a romantic relationship. Like it would be nice to kind of see Bix and Cassian get together before he goes on. And this hurts more. One final mission that Bix will never be with him at the end. Like, there could be a thing like that, you know? Yeah. B2 Emo is also just a droid.
How dare you?
I love B2 Emo. I'm just saying, like, a droid living somewhere on a planet in the Empire.
With someone that we've established is very nice. We've established the lady we left B with is very nice. Mm-hmm. We've established that he has other little friends that are droids, and there's a lot of kids, right?
And he's good with kids, yeah.
We're leaving him in a good place. The fact that he didn't get to say goodbye to Cassian is tough.
Yeah. He's a child. He's like a child.
Baby. He's like if you remember, they had a series of like anti-drunk driving commercials where it was like your dog will never understand why you didn't come home.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about B. Like,
that's sad. Yeah.
if Cassian never comes home, he will not understand why Cassian never came home. And that is tough.
So with this show, with across episodes 1, 2, and 3, by the way, my big wonderful takeaway from Andor season 1 is that it seemed like TV. It was A, B, and C plots, if not D and E plots, that were going around. Some were more important than others. Certain characters were more important than others in different things, but it did go back and forth with similar themes across each episode. Like, they weren't just telling 3 separate stories, but the stories all tied together with a theme, because they're all different aspects of the rebellion, and then the people who are fighting the rebellion, the Empire, right? So we do get, across these 3 episodes, we do get the characters that we left off with in season 1. Obviously, we get Cassian Andor. We get Deidre. We get Cyril. We get Mon Mothma and her whole storyline. We get Luthen popping in. We get who am I forgetting? Big characters, right? And now we see them a year later after the events of the Rix Road riot. Something like that.
Yes.
I mean, what do we tackle? What do we tackle first? Cassian. We first see Cassian. Let's just start off with Cassian.
I know. I'm like, weirdly Cassian, because Cassian has like the shortest like plot line in these 3. He has the most compact plot line.
Yeah.
Him starting out with the Imperial stealing the TIE Avenger.
That was cool.
It was cool. I love kind of like the slapstick nature of the way he's crashing it into everything. I heard a lot of people saying that like they thought that it was funnier in this first episode than all of season 1 was. And I was like, there was a bit of a physical comedy for sure with them. And that kind of the absurdity of the Maya Pei Brigade in the jungle was definitely a little bit more comedic. But the whole idea of like how difficult it is to pilot a TIE fighter that you've never been in before. I like that we got that, because there's always so much in Star Wars of like, this is exactly like every other thing I've ever driven. Like, this is fine. Like, I know how to do the Millennium Falcon, like, because I have a speeder that's just like this. And you're like, what?
Also, like in this, it was like a year later, he's like, look, I've been at this for a year. I'm a pro. Let's do this.
And then he gets into the cockpit and he's like, what are these things?
Yeah.
What? I guess I'll put my hands in this, right? And then just like, I guess I'll just blast out the doors.
Yeah.
Just a delight.
So, just a disclaimer to the people that are watching us on YouTube or on Twitch: like, comment, subscribe, follow wherever you're at. Let us know you're out there. We got Basco Scenario in the chat, so thank you so much, Basco. Even if you won't change your name to Brazo Scenario. Again, RIP. Pour one out for Brazo. But this isn't necessarily a lore podcast, but I mean, there is like lore to do, with all this stuff. Something that's interesting to me, this TIE Avenger, TIE fighters always have to wear pressurized suits because they don't have an internal atmosphere inside their ship with the TIE fighters. But this one does, and it has a hyperdrive. TIE fighters, TIE bombers, those like the mass-produced lower-level TIEs don't have hyperdrives. So this allows Cassian to get off planet and get out of there, and he doesn't have to wear the helmet. Great. Good for him.
Shout out to not putting a helmet on Diego Luna's face.
Unlike your other boy, Pedro Pascal.
Yeah.
Where, is it him underneath?
The helmet on always. It's not.
Yeah.
They also said the costumer, I heard that they had to scale down the TIE helmet because Diego Luna is a smaller guy. He's shorter. He does have a shorter stature, so they were like, he was going to look essentially like a Funko Pop. So they had to make him a specialty helmet, and then he like never put it on, which I thought was funny. Like, it would have looked absurd if he was holding it, and it would have looked way too big. So they were like, let's scale that down.
Yeah.
I thought he looked, it's always hard to see a character you love in the Imperial outfit, but he looked amazing. I loved the like pops of red on it.
Yeah.
And then the speech he gives, right? The you're coming home to yourself, you're greater than your fear. I was like, been studying Nemec's manifesto.
Here's the thing. I hope kids in high school, theater kids, are doing monologues from Andor. Because the monologues from Andor are next level cinema, next level TV. It's prestige level stuff.
Yeah. But also, there's also a one-liner in these 3 episodes that I think is on par with any monologue that's ever been said, but we'll get there.
Is it when the fuck did we get ice cream?
No.
You know what that's from?
No.
Okay. It's the single best line from a really bad movie called The Ringer with Johnny Knoxville.
Mm.
The bad guy is trying to lie to Katherine Heigl, being like, I wasn't cheating on you. I was with these guys, to the Special Olympians. And he goes, you gotta lie for me. The bad guy says that. And he's like, yeah, no, baby, I took him out for a movie. We got ice cream. And one of the guys is like, when the fuck did we get ice cream? And it supposedly was improvised, and like the characters crack up also. And it's just so funny. Not a great movie. Very funny one line. Anyway, sorry. The monologue.
And also the first scene I thought was very interesting. To start, like, an emotionally devastating, like, 3 episodes, like so much tension. And to start with that scene that's like objectively horny, like him and that girl who's like, we were flirting. He's like, I like that. And then she's like, he said you were cute. And he's like, and I'm like, it's just start it on that tone. Like, just start with the levity and then be like, okay, that's it. That's all your levity.
Yeah.
We're not gonna, everything else is gonna be devastating. I thought was great. I hope that lady survived. I hope she made it out in 12 minutes. I don't think we'll ever see her again, but shout out to her.
We never know.
She's amazing.
Did you hear that a character from season 1's coming back this season?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Do you want me to tell you? I heard.
You could tell me.
It's 99%. I mean, I would say like it's very likely. I think I read it somewhere. Guess who our boy is that couldn't get off?
Did he take swimming lessons?
I don't know, but I heard he comes back this season.
I'll be excited.
What's his name? I forget.
He's gonna turn into Snoke.
I hope not. But,
maybe that's what happens.
What's his name?
Kino.
Andy Serkis's character from the prison, supposedly is coming back this season. So who knows? Who knows? Anyway, so we deal with this the beginning scene. By the way, I do think that Cassian, if Cassian wasn't on a mission, he would sleep with Nia, I believe is her name.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But I think that because he's on a mission, I don't think he's flirting for fun. I think he's flirting to alleviate and kind of manipulate in a way.
Strategic flirting. Yeah, he's trying to
tension.
Yeah.
Or, so
just for the record, that would not work for me. If Diego Luna was flirting with me, that would not alleviate any tension. That would just add another layer of it. Okay, now I'm nervous being a traitor, and also that Cassian Andor is flirting with me. It would not help.
It's like
I'd be much more likely to make a mistake.
12 minutes to get off the compound. It's like
I'd be like, let's make it 20. Let's,
yeah, like we could delay a little bit, or give me 5 minutes and I'll run real fast for the next 6 or 7.
Yeah.
So he has trouble piloting it, and he goes to an unnamed planet where he has to drop off the vehicle, grab his own vehicle. By the way, I didn't realize this until I did a rewatch recap, that the broken down ship is his ship on that quote unquote unnamed planet.
Yes. Mystery
planet, which we'll get to. And then we find out that these rando guys that we don't know is the Maya Pei Brigade are there, and they've, I guess, killed Porco. Is his name?
Yeah. R.I.P.
Yeah, Porco. We never knew him.
I understand the complaints about it going on too long. I do.
Yeah.
I understand the complaints about like the elaborate game of rock, paper, scissors that they play. That's a little silly.
I think but it's on theme.
But the whole thing of like they're so stupid, I'm like, that is like the point of them.
Yeah.
The point is there are rebel cells that are like stupid, and the infighting and the definitely like, is this play about us type of vibe from that of like they're all fighting. So, and Cassian's like, we're supplying you. And they're like, well, who do you work for? And he's like, I'm not going to tell you that. Like, you guys are amateurs, right? So this idea of like, we have to, I don't know if we have to spend as much time with them, but we have to spend that time with them to understand how deeply incompetent they are. And like, they're one of the people, right, that Saw mentions in season 1, right? Like, we know of this cell of rebels. And then we get that moment in the boardroom with Krennic and Dedra where she says, what you need is a group of incompetent rebels that you always know are going to make the wrong choice. And it's like, fantastic news. We've already met them, right? Like, I'm sure it's not going to be them because I think they all got eaten. But like that kind of idea of, so that when
I don't think they got eaten. I think also, did that creature eat people or just trample people?
Well, I don't know if you're going to get out of a trampling. Well, either way, if it's them or someone else, we've been primed for the idea of, we know the rebels as this efficient, force, but that is not where they're currently at.
Yeah.
And we need to get to just the way we have to get to the Gorman massacre to unite everybody. So like, we know that that's coming.
When did we know? When did they bring up the Gorman massacre? Rogue One?
Rebels.
Oh, okay.
Rebels fans win again. Yeah, it's a plot line in Rebels. And that's when Mon like cuts the ties. That's when she's like, actually, Palpatine, you did this. Like, who's going to do anything about it? And then she has to go like fully in with the rebels. So this idea that, that happens, and that happens in 2 BBY. So if we're in 4 BBY, we're going to be in 3 BBY, and then we're going to be in 2 BBY.
Oof.
So if in 2 BBY we get the Gorman massacre, which leads us to 1 BBY, which leads directly into Rogue One. It's like watching the Gorman massacre like actually happen is going to be pretty wild, because that's that's the thing. That's like the
inciting incident.
Yeah.
The Battle of Fort Sumter.
Yeah, I was going to say it's the 9/11, but that doesn't. That's not really. But it's it's the incident that gets Mon to be like, hey, we're gonna say something, right? And then everyone's like, actually, no.
Yeah. Side question: do you think that we're going to have Felicity Jones appear in the final arc?
I don't know. I think not. I think we're gonna hear about Galen Erso. I think we're gonna hear Jyn Erso. I think we might even see Galen Erso. Always hoping for Mads Mikkelsen to show up, but I don't think that we're gonna see her. I think we're gonna hear her. I think honestly, if the last episode ends with like, you guys are going to get this prisoner out, and her name is Jyn Erso, because like that's where we pick up in Rogue One.
Yeah.
So
okay.
I don't know if we'll see her. Okay. Yeah. I don't need to see her.
This is the first time we're seeing Krennic, though, right? In this season. We didn't see him in last season, right?
No.
Interesting. See you later, Basco Scenario. Thanks for tuning in. So Cassian, I didn't realize it was his ship that was broken down. And that's how he knew that there was like a messaging system box in his ship, because he goes to the front, he finds the hidden piece, and then he takes that with him, right?
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was his ship. I was like, does he just know? Is that like a standard thing? But I think the infighting of the rebels and all that stuff it harkens back to Saw Gerrera in the first season, where he's like, there's all these little factions. They mention the Maya Pay Brigade. They mention neo-Republicans. They mention the Separatists. They mention like all these like rando groups. And the whole point of this is like, yeah, when do they unite under a common thing? Saw Gerrera gets left behind because he's almost
losing it.
What'd you say?
He's losing it.
Yeah, in Rogue
yeah,
One.
but also I think it also shows how much more efficient Cassian is, right? Like if you want an easy way to show how good Cassian has got at this, just put him next to the Maya Pay Brigade, right? And they are so incompetent that it really shows up how competent he's become.
Right.
Of like, you have to bank your water. You guys don't have any water.
Here's like, also the thing though, is that in life, and especially in this rebellion, you can't not use dumb people. Like you have to staff with what you got, which means some of those people are going to be dumb, and you put them on less important missions. Like it takes a village, but it also takes a village of villages, you know?
Yeah.
That's what we're dealing with.
You take all that you can get, right? Like you gotta.
Not everyone's gonna be nice.
You can't only take the best and brightest.
Right, and the nicest.
Yeah.
And the most wholesome rebels that you could find. Nick Bellis, I don't think it's what you're asking. Nick Bellis is asking on YouTube, was the dude from Naboo Rey's father? We'll get to the Mon Mothma storyline, but no, I don't think, because for that would be the clone of Emperor Palpatine. So I don't think so.
Yeah.
Not at this time. If we're thinking about timelines, right? Maybe emperors is there such thing as hyper-aging a clone in Star Wars? In expanded universe there was. You could hyper-age, but like can you build a clone and then push them to like 30? I don't know. Anyway, the point being is I do not think so. I think it's just a Naboo name drop. So as Cassian both tricks those rebels and unfortunately has to kill one of them. He didn't want to, right? But
no hesitation.
He knew what he had to do. What is he gonna do? Fight? He had seconds to spare. Like, we would wish that none of them had to die, but like they were also idiots that were stopping him from doing his job.
It's just one of those things where coming off of like Daredevil coverage, like it would just be so much easier to shoot these people, Matt Murdock. Like it was so much easier. Can you imagine if that was Daredevil? He would have to take an extra like 3 minutes to knock him out to get to the TIE fighter, and then it's ruined.
Yeah.
So that whole idea of he doesn't want to, but he knows that he has to, so he does it without hesitation.
Yeah. He does get off planet, or should I say off moon, because we see it's Yavin 4.
Yavin 4.
I didn't realize it was Yavin 4 until I watched, or I read somebody talk about it or whatever. Mostly because I just assume like these planets have those structures, like I don't know. They're not.
But it's like temples. It's like temples on Yavin 4. It's like a very specific.
Yeah, it's Masasi temples. I know that, but like, I don't know. I just thought. Also, I didn't see that it was like a full temple. I thought they were like spires. So I didn't really notice the reveal. Other people were freaking out. I didn't realize it until later. Cool reveal.
Yeah.
We'll get back to Cassian as he joins up with everybody on Mina Rao. But let's talk Mon Mothma.
Incredible. Every single moment was incredible. I loved the wedding. It also hit me it hit me on a lot of levels. I love Mon Mothma. I love this journey as she's like trying to juggle everything. Like the effort that she has to put into like trying to keep up appearances, like a regular wedding, like a regular Earth wedding. That's one day is so stressful. I can't imagine a 3-day wedding.
Yeah, with hikes and like gifts and like.
To be fair, my brother got married in Yosemite, so there were hikes as part of his wedding. But they were optional.
Okay.
Yeah, and then the moment with her daughter where she's like, first of all, I understand completely where Mon Mothma is coming from. This idea of like, she's like, my mom was drunk at my wedding, like, and you can still say no, right? Like you can back out. Like it is, first of all, too late for that. Like it is too late to have this conversation. I like that she got there, but like it's you should have. And like her daughter was all in on it. Her daughter was super into it. And she like saw that one little doubt. Like her daughter was like, he won't hold my hand. And it was so sad.
Because they're
and she's
kids.
Like, maybe I can capitalize. Yeah, they're like 14. Like maybe I can capitalize on that. And then the way that her daughter just looks at her and goes, I wish you were drunk. I was like, oh, like I had like a visceral reaction to that, as especially the mother of a daughter. Like our children are just capable of saying like the one, it's almost like they have a special ability to be like, what's the one thing that will really mess you up right now? And then the way that Mon just like shuts it, like she's just like gone, like is brutal and so good.
Their relationship was tough to watch in the first season.
Yeah,
because I was like, she has such a strained relationship with her daughter. Lita, I think is her name. Lita. And then also with her husband, Perrin, who just seems like a douche. And and she the daughter likes the dad more, and it, that sucks for Mon. But I was watching a YouTuber, I forget who it was. This YouTuber was essentially saying, because Mon's other life is private to the point where it has to be confidential, otherwise people die, she dies, everybody dies. She has to keep it a secret. Her funding the rebellion and all that stuff. The values that she has and that she's learned, she cannot pass on to your daughter. And that's kind of all like what you have as a mother, as a father, as a parent, is you pass down your values, but you can't seem like a rebel, so you can't pass down, fight the authority, like down with fascism. You can't pass that on to your daughter, so your daughter's just a spoiled brat.
Yeah. And she doesn't know you, right? Like this idea of you can't let her know you because there's too much of a risk.
Yeah.
It's so sad.
Yeah. And Perrin, even if Perrin was a good guy, like a good guy, the fact that Mon has a secret life means the disconnect between the two of them.
And that idea of I love nothing more than two people who used to love each other sitting in a room and like realizing it's not, like when he says that thing about take Homa and he's like, oh, your boy, calls him your boyfriend, right? Like, your boyfriend got too drunk last night, right? And like that first one, like calling someone, oh, your boyfriend, that's not like, that's just kind of like a teasing. But then when he's like, oh, I assume, is he not your lover? And I was like, oh, he's like, he actually is gonna, like, this idea that he's like saying it so casually. And then she says something like, I haven't heard that one in a long time. Like, so like this is an ongoing like thing for them.
That he's
and
jealous.
Now they'll never get to consummate because Take Homa is dead in a flying car somewhere. R.I.P.
Oh, that people were saying that, like, is Cinta gonna like open up the sunroof and then flip the car upside down?
Did he buckle himself in?
I don't know. All I know is that Cinta is the assassin.
Oh yeah.
Oof. Nick Bellis is asking on YouTube, would Cass send help back to the moon of Yavin between episode 3 and 4, and they end up putting their base there? I mean, the rebels will eventually put their base there, but here's the question. Does Cassian want those guys stranded? Or would he send back help or tell people like, yeah, there's some idiots back there, like you may want to go pick them up? Or is it just better for the rebellion to have them, because they're a liability?
Yeah, but you got to take everybody. I think.
Does he believe that?
I think he would send it back. That's
Maya Pei's brigade. Maya Pei is dead, according to what they said. She was the one who like casted them, right? She got them together. If Maya Pei is dead, then her judgment dies with her, which means, does anyone want these free agents? This is the first time I'm thinking about this, and I have yet to hear anyone talk about that. Is it like, so throw that out to the discourse.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, they're real good at rock, paper, scissors, rancor. What is it? They call it 5 hands. I was looking at the like trivia.
Is that I want to know how to
Yeah, it's called 5 hands. There's like 15 different animals you can do. Yeah. It's wild.
I feel like if I was in that situation, I would just do improv games. Like, you ever play Big Booty?
Let's zip zap zop to figure out who gets the TIE fighter.
Yeah. Nick was also a fan of episode 3. Nick is saying that Mon threw Perrin under the bus, can't trust Luthen 100%. Mon, somebody's in conflict with her cousin, so Vel. So Mon is in conflict with Vel. Her daughter resents her, and now the only person she taught she could trust is getting killed.
Yep.
Here's the problem. I would feel bad if I knew I was with shady people. I would never want them to think I was going to betray them. So Tay Kolma being like, look, everybody seems to be like having a great time except me. I wish I had some money. Otherwise, who knows who's going to be talking. I don't like that, because that's him being like, Mon would never tell anyone, anyone to kill me.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You simply can't behave this way. Like, the getting way too drunk, your wife left, like, it's too messy. Like, there's a certain moment, and maybe that is something he tried to reach out to Mon with, right? Because he said, I've been trying to call you, and she's like, oh, I'm so sorry, I've been so busy, right? Like, maybe there was a point where it could have been salvaged, where if he just came and talked to her about it, or if I mean, he did try. So if Mon returned the calls, maybe it could have been a conversation, but instead he's getting blackout at her daughter's wedding and hanging around Skulden, when there was that moment where he's like, every time I'm with him, and she goes, how much are you with him?
Yeah.
And it's like, no, you could not say things like that. And that one led me to what I think is I don't know if it's the best scene, but the scene with her and Luthen, where Luthen's like, he's going around Skulden, he's been bothering him, what's going on? And he says, if I wasn't here, would you have told me? Which is like huge. And she's like, yeah, no, of course. And then she's like, we'll figure out a number. He says, you know the number, you're always going to be vulnerable. Like, we have to protect you. And then what I think is the coldest line of all time, he says, we have to protect you. She goes, I don't know what you're saying. Or like, I don't understand what you're saying. And he goes, how nice for you. That was so, like, the look on his face where he says that. Like, obviously she's lying. And she knows exactly what he's saying, which is, we have to kill him. But her pretending to not know what has to be done, and then him saying, how nice for you that you don't know that what I'm saying is we need to kill him. How nice for you that you don't have to make that decision. How nice for you that you can keep your hands clean. How nice for you that you can pretend like you don't know what's going on, and I have to be the one to order the hit on this guy. Like, it was so, like, I audibly, when he goes, how nice for you, I was like, oh, like, I made a sound. It was so, and like the delivery of it, he takes a minute and he kind of like does like a it is so good.
Luthen popping in to this wedding, he says he was an invite of Skulden, right?
Because he got that, but he set that whole thing up, right? He found that art piece because he knew that Skulden was going to freak out over it and get him an invite to the wedding. Or
did he always have the art piece?
He says that he like hunted it. He like, but yeah.
What do you think? Like,
liked it. I think it's a beautiful art piece.
Yeah, it was been gone for 10,000 years or something.
Yeah.
Like, do you think Luthen, being an antique dealer, just always had it in his back pocket?
Maybe.
Because he's dealing with by the way, I'm just coming up with this stuff. Throw that in the discourse. Everybody out there.
Is that the new catchphrase? Throw that in the discourse?
Throw that in the discourse. Keep in mind, he's always dealt with Mon Mothma, right? and obviously he has a relationship with Davo Skulden, the mob boss from Chandrilla,
Chandrilla.
Chandrilla.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with the Shi'ar homeworld in X-Men. Chandrilar.
I like they call it Shandy.
Yeah,
Like
Shandy.
that.
Shandy. Are there poor people on that planet? I don't know, but you know,
it doesn't seem like it.
Oof, it has to be propped up by something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
What was I saying? Oh, that maybe Luthen had it always. He had essentially an illegal good, right? Like a statue that should be with the people of Chandrilla, but he probably had it.
He's essentially the British Museum.
He probably had it, and he was like, at some point, I'm going to use it, and this is where he uses it. This has to be a play for something, especially with Davo, because I think Davo is the most taken aback by it, right?
Yeah.
Not so much Mon. And so that means Davo owes him something. I'm very curious on how that goes. But Davo can never know what exactly he's helping with. He just knows he's doing shady shit.
Yeah. But even going back to the first, like when Mon offers up like the meeting between the two kids, right? She knows it's an arranged marriage, but this kind of like how good for you or how nice for you, like goes all the way back. Like that's that's Mon's whole thing is she can pretend to herself that she's not doing it. She didn't sell her child off to an arranged marriage. She just had them meet. And it's like, but you know what happens when you have like you're passively agreeing to these things. So the way that like she's going to, like, there's going to be a point where she can know where it's no longer going to be nice for her, right? And it's going to be the Gorman massacre, right? Where it's going to be a breaking point. And watching her get to that point and the dancing is so good. I love all the memes, right? The memes are funny, but the idea of like her life is falling apart.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, I'm just gonna get drunk at the wedding, right? Let's just get drunk and dance, and like it's like so good, and the song again is so good, and the interview with Tony Gilroy where he's like, Niamos is essentially the Miami of Star Wars, so that's the song is essentially Miami, by Will Smith.
I didn't
like that's when they're shouting Niamos, they're essentially going Miami.
Is Niamos the planet that Andor got arrested on?
Yeah, that beach planet. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Love it. Callbacks.
Yeah. And he says, I guess it's like their song. He said something about like when you first get on Niamos, like that song is playing all the way back in season 1, and I was like, oh, I have not. I mean, I'm not gonna be like, I don't believe you, but I didn't notice it.
I don't believe you, Tony Gilroy.
Yeah, what do you know? But yes, it's so good. Truly a banger. And just the scene of her dancing, the juxtaposition of it over everything else that's happening with like the Ferrix crew is just so good.
If anyone
it's like a perfect ending
memes,
to that arc.
Yeah. If anyone likes memes, I think I posted one, like a couple funny ones on Instagram at the Keeg Show. So it's, I think, in the Instagram story. But it's just like Mon Mothma while her daughter's getting married away and the rebellion's falling apart or whatever, and then it's like Kevin Hart dancing. It's so funny. But here's the thing, like the whole point of this. So sometimes Andor episodes have all these plots have the same theme, but sometimes the juxtaposition of different themes is a theme in and of itself. So like the whole point of this is the rich get to play while people die.
Yeah.
Right? While bad things are conspiring, while rebels are infighting on the fourth moon of Yavin, right? It's like that's the whole point of these 3 episodes, I think. Is like Mon Mothma's so detached And her big problem is she doesn't want her friend to die who's going to blackmail her.
Yeah.
It's a big deal to her. Small deal in the whole scope of things, but like
and this idea of like I've known, she says I've known him my whole life, right? I can't believe he would do this, and it's like, well, he did, and he is, and now he's dead.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of if there's anything else that happened on Mon Mothma's. Well, Vel Sartha pops in, and I do want to point out. What's Luthen's assistant's name?
It starts with a K.
I don't like her hair because it's this weird like Wolverine looking thing. It's like a small Wolverine. Because I think it's two braids that kind of go back, but it creates two bumps here. So it looks kind of like Wolverine. She's cool. She's a badass. Also,
I love her.
She's a lesbian, right?
Yeah, there's something going on with her and Val.
Yeah, happening.
But gonna happen.
Maybe.
What is her name? It starts with a K. It's gonna kill me. Hold on, actually.
I'll let you look it up. But like, they have a moment, but I also think it's sexually charged and not emotionally charged. I don't think they're into each other emotionally. It just sucks that Vel can't be with Cinta because Cinta's
her name is Clea.
Clea. Okay. Okay, yeah, Clea. Vel can't be with Cinta because Cinta's first love is the fight.
Killing people. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I don't think she's bloodthirsty. No. The resistance is what it is.
Right, that's more important, yeah.
You know? And that sucks because Vel comes from a life of privilege. And she's like, why can't we just be in love and just like fight on the side? Like, why can't that be our side hustle? You know? And Cinta's rebellion. Cinta's like, this is a lifestyle, baby.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's all with Vel and Clea, like that's also, but I believe that Clea can multitask.
Sexually?
She does a good, in every way. When she was like, Luthen's like, well, I can't take you home. You have to find a ride. And she's like, I already have a ride. And I was like, of course you do. Like you got back.
Yeah. Wait, who has a ride?
Clea. He tells her, she's like, the comms are down. I can't do it from here. I have to go back. And he's like, well, I can't take you back. And she's like, I already found a ride.
Yeah. Who did she ride back with? We don't know. It's fine. Something sexual or just a Black Ops secret spy thing?
I mean, why not both?
Okay, cool.
I think it could be both.
Nick Bellis brought up a good thing that, is it too obvious to be real or too obvious to be fake? Luthen and Clea, Luke and Leia. What does that mean? Does it mean that, or is it not? Is it too on the nose?
I think that Clea is a strange. I mean, you know, it sounds a lot like Leia. That's an interesting.
Luthen and Clea, Luke and Leia. Nick, is this the first time you're saying this? Is this in the discourse?
Put it in the discourse, Nick.
Put it in the discourse, baby. I don't know. So,
also the amount of cosplayers I've seen that are like, just every time Mon Mothma shows up in a new dress, the cosplayer is like, it's crazy. And I'm like, they're so good. The wedding dress was so good. I liked the the thing of giving him the knife and then he cuts the braid off. Anytime you introduce like a little ritual that goes along with a civilization, I always love that. That's such a fun way to like kind of ground or like expand. Like this is, I don't know what Chandrillans are, but I know that they have a weird thing where the father of the bride gives the groom a knife. Like wild stuff.
I mean that's a lot of what the wedding was showing us the culture of this wedding ceremony. And I think it's cool as long as I'm sure whoever's writing this, creating this, whatever, is rooting it in some truth about Chandrilla that we don't know. that you can kind of build from them. For example, like people have brought up when you create a fictional culture, like all cultures have a soup and a pastry, and like you need to figure out what that soup and pastry is, you know? And they're all different, right? Like, but maybe they're similar to their neighboring country or neighboring culture. I wonder how they figured out Chandrilla's culture. I don't know. You know, cool for them. What was I? Oh, Nick is saying, yeah, Mom's having a crash out during the wedding, and Perrin is looking at Mon during the dance. This is what Nick is saying in the chat. Perrin's looking at her, realizing things aren't right. But in what respect?
Yeah, honestly, like there's just something about like Perrin's a douche, but
He has a good monologue. He has like
he's a great monologue.
Yeah.
Gives a great speech, which is like somewhere, sometime Perrin was more than a douche, even though he is totally a douche now.
Yeah.
And you get this, it's like she did, like there was love there at some point, right? Like there was something there. And there's moments in these 3 episodes where you see like the little like embers of that. I think during the speech is one. I think when they're having the conversation where he's like, is he not your boyfriend? I think when he watches her dancing, I think there's something there is. I mean, you can't be with someone for that long and not have a connection, even if it's devolved so much. There is something there. So I am interested in where Perrin is going to fit in to the ongoing crash out that Mon is going to have.
Yeah. I mean, Nick thinks that there's going to be some big sacrifice that Perrin will do to let Mon flee. Also, what happens to the daughter? Not quite sure. But then again, the daughter could just move with his name is Stecken.
His name is Stecken Skolden?
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Yeah.
If there is a Perrin redemption arc where he, when push comes to shove, does that, I think I would like that. That would help us.
Yeah.
I think that would be a nice thing to get from Perrin.
But we don't always get that. In Andor, we get pieces that just never get figured out. Andor is just as likely to give Perrin a final amazing goodbye as it is that he's just going to get gunned down with his daughter in cold blood real quick without even Mon knowing. Like, it could just as easily happen like that. Though I do think if Perrin is noticing something's up with Mon, and a year later, now it's been a year since Tay Kolma has disappeared, Perrin might put 2 and 2 together. Like, that was the last time you saw him. He disappeared. What do you know?
Yeah.
You know?
I think, I'll be interested in how their relationship has evolved.
In a year, we're flashing forward a year, you know? Again, talking about gunning down people in cold blood, we'll get to that. I want to finish with that storyline, but I want to talk, before we get to Mina Rao, I want to talk about Deidre, Cyril, the Gorman thing, all that stuff. We get to see Krennic for the first time in this show.
He's having so much, Ben Mendelsohn's having so much fun as Krennic. And I think he did in Rogue One. I was watching his performance in Rogue One last night, and I was like, he is chewing on the scenery a little bit, right? Like he is loving it.
You should.
And why not? Like when you're playing a character that cartoonishly evil. And I think he has really dialed that performance up to 11 for Andor, which is really funny. Like he's really going for it. Being in that thing and kind of saying like, your bosses are not in here. Like you are in here. Don't tell anyone. I think the 2 spooky propaganda minister guys are intense. I like that Krennic kind of has his eyes on Dedra right away of like, hey, you messed up this Ferrix thing, but I know you have a good idea for this. And just kind of the way that they're like,
did she mess up the Ferrix thing?
Well, the Ferrix thing, what got messed up, right? Like it was like bad.
But didn't Imperials take over Ferrix because of it?
Yep. Yeah, but there's still like a riot, I think, that's still, you still lost Imperial. I don't know.
Yeah.
And we don't get to see the fallout from it.
Yeah.
But he does, the other guy does mention it. But I also think them saying like, could we not just do a plague? and then being like, we already thought about that, it's not going to work. Was just like the banality of evil idea of like, yeah, we workshopped a plague, but like it turns out that's not going to work. But like, good idea, good, thanks for contributing, right? Like that kind
I'm
of.
gonna put a star on your name
Round
on
table, yeah, like good. You're thinking proactively. Thanks for saying something, right? Like they might as well be in a classroom, like pulling out popsicle sticks of like, Dedra, Miro, what's your idea for the hostile takeover of this planet?
It's because they're so detached to the consequences of their actions, right? So they're on the Malthine Divide, which is essentially like Switzerland in a way, like where it's just like, hey, we're here plotting our whole imperial fascist like next couple of moves. But this is our marketing department in a way. Like this is our strategy and marketing. Let's figure it out. These aren't boots on the ground. These are just people who get to have fun with their creative ideas. Let's do this Super Bowl commercial where Puppy Monkey Baby teams up with the Jolly Green Giant. You know, like cool.
Yeah, and the whole like propaganda video about Gorman and the spiders. I was like, there's a version of the show done by someone else where they're like, hey, do we need to watch all of this video? And the director goes like, or the writer's like, yeah, okay, I guess I can cut it. But Tony Gilroy's like, no, we need 2 minutes of this video. We need the full thing. And I'm like, that's just kind of like, that's the show that Andor is, right? Like, no, we do need it because we need to show you the propaganda machine, and we need to show you like everyone just sitting watching this like awkward video about the Gorman silk and the spiders and stuff. And it's like, gosh, this show's good. But you can kind of, in moments like that, you can kind of see where people are like, well, why did we need that? Or like, these are the people that are like, that's a filler episode, right? Like, anytime people say that, I'm always like, yeah, but it's a fill. What is a pastry without a filling? You gotta fill it. Like that's the whole thing.
Do you know iceberg theory? So essentially, I mean, it can be applied to anything. I learned it with writing, and that is that like the top 10% of an iceberg is above water, but it's supported by the 90% below it, right? So in writing, you do write the 90% below, but it never makes it to the paper, but it does support and foundation, like the foundation of what is above water that people see. And I mean, it can apply to a lot of things, but like that 10% above water can't exist without the 90% below it, right? You take out that 90% and now that 10% sinks down for, another 9-to-1 ratio, right? The things that we get in Andor seem like filler, but we're also seeing a lot of the 90%, which is nice.
Yeah.
And it also kind of distracts us from like, okay, where is it going? Here's all this information done in a clean and concise way. There is a point, right?
Yeah.
It is propping something up.
Yeah. I also just love the Tony Gilroy of he's very much like we don't have to, like we don't do cameos, like we, it's a very like un-Star Wars, but I love that when you pull stuff, it's like from Rebels, where it's like Gorman, let's do Gorman, and I'm like, please watch Star Wars Rebels. Like this idea of like, we've got Erskine who is in Rebels as the one that escorts, Mon to the Rebels, and I'm like, I love that Tony Gilroy is pulling from Rebels.
Nick points out it's very pseudo historical based, Eagle's Nest of Hitler, that sort of thing. I mean, definitely, because there's the ministry of like, there was like a minister of whatever, like for everything.
Yeah, propaganda. Yeah.
And all that. And so, what's the basic problem with Gorman? They have a resource that the Imperials want, but they can't actively go in and take it because Gorman is viewed favorably by the public and it would be too egregious.
Yeah, because it's gonna essentially collapse the planet. If they go in and mine it. If they go in and mine the stuff, there's like a big chance that it will collapse.
Like the literal foundation will collapse?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So they need to essentially figure out a way to wipe out the people of Gorman, get the people of Gorman somewhere else. And then essentially Dedra says, like, a propaganda campaign against Gorman is not enough. You need to have a reliable cell of rebels on Gorman who are going to make the wrong decision and turn people against Gorman, which has very interesting political climate parallels that I won't go into, right? Like, but that idea of turning the general galaxy against the people of Gorman so that when you collapse the planet, there's going to be support for it, which is very perceptive of Dedra. Like, I try not to give Dedra credit, right? But she does a couple things like that is, right? That is correct. She is correct there. And then she yells at Cyril's mom, which is also a correct move. But she is a horrible fascist. So I think the likability of the character of Dedra as well as the character of Cyril is very interesting. Like, we've got Krennic, who we love to hate, right? He's hamming it up. We've got Dedra. I think Dedra and Cyril are incredibly interesting characters.
Yeah.
And I'm so into where they're gonna go with them.
Dedra does a thing, and this kind of relies on our own real world way of viewing things. Like, it's done on purpose. She has resting bitch face, right? Like that, but that's on purpose.
One of the best.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's why it makes her so unlikable, And I'm sorry, like, that, I'm not saying that people who do have resting bitch face in real life are unlikable, but, like, this is on purpose as a character choice.
It's like not even resting. It's like active
bitch face.
There's no way that you can act like, I can't, like, sometimes if I'm not listening, if I'm zoned out, right, like, I don't look super approachable, but, like, I don't even know if I can make my face do the thing. Like, her face is such like
frown.
And it's like something is smelly and I'm frowning about it. Frown. Like, I can't. It's hard for me to turn my mouth that way. Like, it's such an active, like, the way that Mon Mothma is doing such an active fake smile is the way that Dedra is doing, like, an active frown. Right. Like, she's actively making her face look like that.
They talk
like, the actress is so beautiful. Like, when she's not, but like,
I don't even know what she looks like in real life. So
she's gorgeous and, like, seems like an incredibly nice person.
Yeah. Yeah, she's just always frowning. All her pictures. Anyway, so after that whole propaganda thing on the Maltine Divide, with Krennic, Dedra says to Partagaz, her superior officer, she doesn't really want that, and he's like, "Well, you already got chosen, so that's what you're doing." It's not that she didn't want it because of her conscience. She wanted to follow the Axis stuff, and he's just like, "I don't know what you want. Like, you can't find Axis."
I love the nugget of wisdom, which is catch them first and then make them famous, which is very. Good advice for Dedra. Yeah.
I mean, it is going against their self-interest to create a boogeyman for the rebellion before they catch the boogeyman.
Yeah. Because that is a martyr situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, whatever happened to that guy on the inside that Luthen had, that he was like...
I'm assuming he's still doing his thing.
I remember watching that and thinking he was going to die.
Yeah.
And then I remember watching it again recently, like a week ago, and I forgot what happened to the guy. I was like, I still thought he was gonna die, and then I was like, oh wait, oh no, I saw it. Okay, because you don't see Luthen's face and just get away, but
yeah,
that guy did, So yeah, Nick brought up, it's like Calcite is like a chalk to protect the power source. They mention an energy project, but the people on the internet are saying, like, it's in the discourse, that the energy project is just a cover for Project Stardust. Like, you would wonder where are all these resources going to? Oh, unlimited energy project, like, easy. Yeah,
I'm assuming someone in the I don't know, I think I saw it on TikTok. Someone in that meeting is wearing a Project Stardust like patch.
Okay.
or something, like a little
like they ran the Project Stardust
ask
marathon.
me about Project Stardust. Yeah.
Okay. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Galen Erso. More likely we see Galen Erso than Jyn Erso.
Yeah.
But who knows,
I think so. Because we don't see Jyn.
But Jin's on that prison transport. That's the first time we see her.
Yeah. Well, we see her as a little kid.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's already happened.
Yeah.
Right. So then we see Dedra and Cyril, who we didn't know were together. Now they're together.
Gross.
I didn't think, because we see Cyril in the one scene before. He looks like he's different. Does he look more handsome now?
Yeah.
I think he looks like they did something to him. They either gave him a better haircut or something where he looks, or maybe he's just older. But then again, they filmed this back to back, right?
I think I don't know.
So I don't know whether he aged.
He aged a little bit. His eyes are a lot more like, I was really struck by the like intensity of his watery eyes when he's talking to that guy. He's giving like the "you can make it here," like there's a future here, and I was like, ew.
It's his haircut. His haircut looks too pristine now.
Yeah.
It looks like a Ken doll, like plastic hair. Yeah.
Yeah. But he is relatable in the scene with his mom, like taking a break to lay on the bed.
I hate her so much. I hate her so much. I hate the mother, but she's so good.
She's so good. Yeah.
Like, also, I do get like just I don't want her. Just someone put her in her place, and Dedra does that. So
yeah, it's that that Onion article of like worst person you know makes a good point.
Yeah.
That I love. That's one of my favorite memes. Like when you're like, I'm happy that someone had to finally say something. I'm a little mad that I'm on Dedra's side, but I guess that's a sacrifice that I'm willing to make to get her put in her place. And there's the whole like backstory of Dedra like not having any parents and getting raised in like an imperial, what do you call it, kinder block?
Yeah.
Is interesting. And people were saying like, how did that happen when the empire's not that old? Like it wouldn't have been named an imperial kinder block. And I guess StarWars.com was like, it was later known as an imperial kinder block. So I guess it's a republic kinder block that now we're renaming it. They yada yada that.
Somebody brought up online that Dedra is the type of person that says, look, if I made it, anyone can make it. It's not that bad, right?
Yeah.
She's like, oh, it must suck to raise in a kinder block without parents. She's like, look at me now. Like, obviously anyone, like, everyone should just do what I did.
I love that we didn't know what we were missing. And it's like, what you were missing is a mom like Cyril's mom.
Yeah.
Like, actually, I'd rather be raised in an imperial kinder block, actually, now that I think about it.
Yeah. Is that the last scene we see with Dedra and Cyril and all that?
I think so.
Yeah. So then, I guess, as we finish this off, let's talk about Mina Rao. Some sort of farm planet. But unlike Rebel Moon, we don't spend 5 minutes sifting our fingers through the grain. So,
why not? There is a lot of running through the grain, which I like.
Did you ever see Rebel Moon?
I did not. No. My time is so precious that I simply cannot spend any of it watching Rebel Moon.
It was so boring. It was like someone just played with some toys and created their story about how their toys fought, and let's pad the time with slow motion. So we have this farm planet, and it kind of starts off with like, Bix, Brazo, this kid named Wilman. And Wilman is with the farmer's daughter. They are essentially undocumented migrants. They are there because they ran away from Ferrix. B2 Emo's with them, so it's nice that they took B2. And
they've got a painting of Marva by the communicator, by the radio, which broke my heart.
but Bix is still having traumatic
Yeah.
nightmares.
Yeah. It was, I did not rewatch Andor season 1, so it was nice for a minute. I was like, who is this guy? Like when you're in the dream space and you see him in the mirror, I was like, what? And then I was like, oh, and then when I realized it was Bix having the dream, then I realized who it was.
It was that doctor, right?
Yeah.
The interrogator.
That was, yeah, torturing her.
Yeah. So we see them. Wilman is with Bila. Bila is the farmer's daughter.
I was happy to see Wilman. I didn't know that he would be there, and I think he's such a good addition. A character that we didn't get. Well, I mean, we got some of right in season 1, but to see him kind of brought to the front and be a core member of that group was really nice.
Yeah.
I mean, I am scared now that, we're going to lose him, but I liked getting more from him.
I would say, yeah, it's tough to place odds on these characters. Again, the way the show works is they're just as likely to leave someone behind and just never, you just never know. There's so many characters,
Yeah.
That we just get glimpses of, and that's it. But essentially the Imperials are coming. The farmer himself knows, like, he's supportive in his own way of the rebellion, but in a small way, just to hide people away.
Yeah.
Making some fake passports, maybe, and that work visas, and that's it. I mean, what do we learn from Mina Rao so much? Other than Brazo is essentially the dad of the group.
Yeah. I think the idea of this kind of thing hasn't happened in 10 years, right? And they're coming to do an audit and check visas.
Yeah.
Right. So this idea that the
audit,
fascism, that it's like ramping up everywhere, because that's the whole thing where he's like, you have to tell essentially Luthen, like you have to tell him that this is happening, and Brasso's like, it's happening everywhere. Like this idea that you guys have just been living your life on this planet. You're making the food that we eat, right, in the inner planets, right? But it's happening, everywhere. People are trying to run, and that's when they're getting caught. And I love the farmer, his kind of role, and the way that Brasso like covers for him at the end.
I didn't realize that, by the way, until somebody pointed out later.
Yeah, I had to rewatch it because I was mad at first. Yeah. And then there was the smile that he does. So Brasso kind of runs at him and is like, oh, you turned us in, like, I'll kill you. And he runs at him, and the stormtroopers knock him down. And then he looks up at, he's like Kellen or something. He looks up at him, and he like does this little smile at him, and Brasso kind of smiles back. And I'm like, oh, he's covering for him. He knows that he's caught, but he doesn't want him to get caught. So because that's not the situation. He's like, you used us up, right? You hired us and used us, and now you're just going to throw us away. It's like, that's literally not the situation that they're in. Yeah. So he's making it look like we're not rebels. We're just undocumented, and you're taking us in.
And we never had a connection. We never had an emotional connection.
Yeah. Yeah. You never knew we were working for the rebellion, right? Because then you're going to die too, right? So that idea that, just one last moment of Brasso being the best before we lose him.
Yeah, it's tough. We lose him. But that doesn't... There's one big scene. One big scene that takes
Talk about discourse.
Okay, so this weird, creepy guy, this Imperial officer, he comes in snooping around. Sure, we have the normal Imperial fear of they're gonna be found out, but he has this extra fear of like, hey, where's your husband? Oh, he's off world. Okay.
He says, does he worry about you? And it was like, oh no, like immediate, just like so filled with dread about that guy. And I think his character was done really well. Like, this is not the first time he's done this. This is his thing. When he gets to these planets, like the way that they executed that, because they laid the groundwork for the later scene like perfectly, right? Like the way that they set that up as him being so creepy and so nefarious, when they have that first meeting with Bix, and I just hate it. He was so. I mean, he did a great job. Like, kudos to that actor. Good on you. Yeah.
Couple things he was actually good at. He was good at acting like he just got the shit rocked out of his head.
Yeah.
Like, he could not stand straight. He could not think or look straight. Like,
yeah.
I mean, it's funny because it reminds me of, in a, I hated this part was when Glenn dies in Walking Dead.
Oh.
And when Glenn dies in Walking Dead, he gets his head bashed in. And you see it. And you feel bad and you hate Negan for what he's doing in Walking Dead. In this, like, I'm just like, okay, yeah, kill him. Like, what?
Yeah,
like,
kill that guy.
What are you gonna do? Like, what? Oh, and she didn't want to, but like, what are you gonna do? And you're stacking trauma on this character.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think there's an interesting. I think the conversation that's happening is interesting, like within the fandom about it. I think some of it is stupid and some of it is interesting. I think there's a very small contingency that's saying a specific stupid thing. And then there's a general conversation. So I think it's important not to focus on one big person who's saying a stupid thing and to go to like, what is the general consensus and conversation around what people are saying. And there's an interesting conversation about like when this kind of thing happens to a female character, like how it's done. And this idea of getting this specific violence onto a character to like have them grow. Right. But this, I don't think that that's what they're doing with Bix. It's not a vehicle to get her to grow, because we open with her like having these debilitating nightmares about the torture, right? So what you would expect from Bix in that situation is maybe for her to shut down, right? Like she's undergone this trauma. She's obviously in like active PTSD about this trauma that she underwent. This idea that she could not escape when that was happening to her in season 1, but she has the opportunity to fight back here in a way she couldn't fight back before, and she freaking kills the guy, right? Like, I don't think we're doing this to her so that she can grow from it. I think in doing this to her, we're showing she felt powerless and she was beaten down and she was in a situation where she couldn't fight back. And now this is a situation in which she can fight back and she actively does.
And she's taking back her like control of her life, right? Like her what's it called? What's the word? She's taking back her autonomy.
Yeah. And this idea of so much of when these things happen, it's about a lack of autonomy, right? Like someone taking something from you. I'm seeing people talk about Sansa Stark in Game of Thrones, and I'm like, that is genuinely like the best argument for this scene is to put it up against what happens to Sansa Stark in Game of Thrones. Because that just happens for the sake of brutality. And like we see it through the eyes of a male character to see his reaction, which is bananas. Whereas this, it's so centered on Bix kind of like taking it back, right? And like I think the conversation is interesting. I think Nick is saying it in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
That Cassian doesn't rescue her.
Yeah.
Right. He doesn't come in time to rescue her. She's already killed this guy. Right. He comes in general to scoop them up, but like it's not a damsel in distress moment. She kills her own assaulter, which I love.
Yeah.
Her and Leia, right, in that club together. With Jabba. And this idea of like that's not. It's so interesting because the conversation of like that doesn't belong in Star Wars is so funny to me, because with Revenge of the Sith being re-released in theaters, I saw someone be like, what's the vibe? Like, are we being quiet or are we like cheering when that youngling says there's too many of them? And I'm like, this is a fandom that thinks it's funny when a bunch of kids get murdered and now you're like, this is not appropriate for Star Wars. And I'm like, that's crazy. Like the idea, and it's interesting to hear Tony Gilroy talk about it, because he's like, this is what happens in war, right? Like it happens in every war,
occupations,
everywhere, every occupation. Like this is a thing that happens.
People in
like,
power.
Yeah. And that thing, like I get so sore, like, I just need to relax. Like he's done this before, like he is a serial rapist essentially. And I think the fact that Bix yells that, and I'm sorry if this is going to demonetize your
No, I don't care about that. Also, I don't get money off of this. Again, whoever was saying shill earlier, I don't think they were actually saying shill, but like, whatever.
Yeah, I think part of it is the fact that that's what Bix says, that Bix yells, he tried to rape me. I think saying it that explicitly kind of freaks people out, especially because I know Nick was saying it in the chat, this whole thing of like grape and essay, like the way that we've kind of been trained by like TikTok algorithms, that if you say a bad word, like you're going to get, not on the For You page. So we've been kind of weirdly trained in the discourse to like not say anything explicitly.
Yeah.
So to have her yell it like that, I think freak people out.
Just like in real life, like people have to say it, right?
Yeah.
I think it's very interesting. It's also the idea that like when you world build, you do a if this then what, right? So if they have bricks on Ferrix, what does that mean? That means there was somebody, some sort of factory, some sort of economy making bricks, and there's something to make bricks into, right? Like things like that. There's always if Harry Potter can like do X, then what? That's where the Harry Potter universe falls apart, is because not enough ifs and
there's no
thens.
rules. Yeah.
Like people can use Polyjuice Potion and turn into anyone. So where does that stop? Yeah. So Harry Potter is lost in that respect because they haven't come up with core foundational rules. This though, it's not even an if then rule. It's more like what happens in real life if then. Like,
yeah,
what happens? So we've already seen like Leia be taken as a slave dancer, right? Like, if we're assuming that's all she is, that's still pretty fucked up.
Yeah.
It's
so interesting because people are like, it's for kids. And someone was like, this is rated TV 14, by the way. And I'm like, if you don't think a 14-year-old can comprehend that people in power abuse their power, especially on women, to take sexual advantage of them at 14, like that's a conversation of people being like, Star Wars is for kids. And it's like, but I don't know any 8-year-olds that are watching Andor. Like my child is very smart. She loves Dune, but I don't think she would be able to watch Andor. And also, I think a lot of these people are not parents. And it's like, when you are a parent and your child is Return of the Jedi, they ask you why Leia's in that gold bikini.
Right.
And you have to say, Jabba the Hutt is gross. So when he takes her, he puts her in a bikini, right? All of the Twilight.
And she does not want to be in.
Right. That idea of like, you were explaining that Jabba the Hutt is sexually exploiting Princess Leia, right? The same way you would be explaining that this Imperial officer is sexually assaulting Bix because he has the power to do it, right? Like, and it is a violent scene, but it's not like a sexually explicit scene. Like, you know what's happening, but there's no gross like pant unbuttoning, right? Like it could have been worse, right? They could have made choices that made it a lot more explicit. I do think the conversation about like, I don't know if like having a trigger warning in front of it, or like for me it was like the little rating thing that pops up of like when the show first starts, it's like TV 14 for violence and coarse language. I feel like if you would have put like sexual violence in front of there, that would have been helpful, like to let people know. But as far as the stuff that happens in, I think it's a realistic scene. I think it's bizarre that people are saying it shouldn't happen. Like that's the line that I draw in Star Wars, is very like, is that because you'd like Is that because you cosplay as an Imperial officer and this is making you like kind of confront the reality of what the Empire is?
It's a weird
like,
meta sort of situation.
Yeah.
Just like the Imperials in the show are fine as long as they don't see things.
Yeah.
Out of sight, out of mind. It's very interesting that it's out of sight, out of mind when it comes to human beings and real world context, right? But then also like in this show where you can assume that stuff is going on, but how dare they put that in front of me? And I guess the argument can be done whether it's tasteful or not, and I think it was done tastefully. Nick in the chat is saying the show carefully chooses what they show and don't show, and I agree. Like, I'm all for that judgment call, you know? Nick also brings up the barbecue of Owen and Aunt Beru. And that was weird to me as a kid, but here's the thing. Look, unless people out there are watching from other countries, like a lot of us are from America. And America has always had a weird relationship when it comes to violence in media versus sexuality in media. And that's even positive sexuality. Positive sexuality is almost worse than negative sexuality in media. But negative sexuality is also a thing that people don't want to confront in real life and in the things that they're watching. And I think that this show was done in a way that was not exploitative.
Yeah.
So that's good.
And I think you have to see, I mean, we'll have to see the result of this with Bix. But again, I don't think it was like, there is an element of like, damn, like Bix is, we're just piling it on Bix, right? Like, right. But this idea that she is able to fight back in this moment and she's able to kill this guy in that moment, you know, while showing this specific type of violence. And it's, I think it was good. I mean, you know, it's one of those things I didn't like it, but like, I thought it was a good, I thought they did it well. I think if you're having a conversation of like, let's talk about why we do this to our female characters in media so much, that's a conversation worth having for sure. But I think the conversation of this doesn't belong in Star Wars because Star Wars is for kids. I only want to see a guy blow up his daughter's planet in front of her. And I want to see my favorite character ever, Anakin Skywalker, kill a bunch of little kids. Like, but that honestly, that's a bone that I always pick. Like, I'm always so annoyed at those jokes. I'm like, you guys are cheering about babies getting killed. Like, that's crazy. But the idea that it doesn't belong in Star Wars
is
because I think it's an interesting, it's an interesting point. It's a wild point. I think that you can say you didn't like it, and I think maybe you don't want to say it made you uncomfortable. Yeah. Right? Like, you don't, and if that's a whole thing of like, did nothing in Andor season 1 make you uncomfortable? Right? Like, there are things that you have to kind of confront at a certain point and it makes you uncomfortable, and that's fine. And I think the idea of like, it wasn't explicitly shown with Leia in the bikini, it was just implied, and that's why it's okay, as opposed to if you're watching this with your kid, you have to explain it. And it's like, I can tell you from firsthand experience, you also have to explain the bikini.
It also makes you extrapolate, like Ula, the Twi'lek who tries to get away. You could say that she's just a hired dancer and she's just dancing and she dances. But why is she trying to get away? Why is she chained? Because obviously she does not want to be there. Who's to go any further? We could just say she doesn't want to be there, so it's unconsensual. But you can also extrapolate, why doesn't she want to be there? I guess things aren't that great. So why aren't things that great? What is being done to her against her will, you know?
But then you have to make the connection of, in the fandom, Twi'lek cosplayers can tell you that these specific characters are always very over-sexualized, even if you're not cosplaying like a super sexy Twi'lek.
Yeah.
You still are, right? So this idea of, you guys are doing it, like, you're understanding the sexual exploitation of these characters. It just wasn't like served to you as explicitly, so you were able to kind of
turn a blind
eye. You can gloss over it, right? But in this one, it being so explicit, but also, Bix, in the proud, kill your rapist category. Like I'm so like the pride that I felt for that fictional character in that moment of like, and her being able to say it, being able to try to rape me, and a guy that's waiting in the truck is like, yeah, no shit. Like, why do you think I was waiting out here in the truck? Type of thing. Like, and then
Really? Oh, you got that from him? I got
that's
it.
what I got.
I got it as like, you can say whatever you want.
You could be a lookout. Yeah.
Yeah, we're just like, okay, fine, you did that, but that doesn't change my directive to take you in.
Right. Like but
I
that's
really don't
my
care
whole
what
thing with
happens
this
here.
guy is like, this guy, I mean, this has got to have happened. He's done this before.
Yeah.
Right. He's used the lines before. So the idea of him like, and the screaming that he did when she was attacking her, like he doesn't run in at the first scream, right? Like he's like, there's going to be some screaming, right? Like the whole scene, the layers of the scene were, I thought it was well done. I think there is a conversation to be had that is very worthy of being in the discourse, and I think there's some very stupid conversations that are happening.
Two things.
That's fandom for you.
I wanted to throw out two things. One is that Bix doesn't do the finishing blow on the guy. Like, she doesn't kill him. She does strike him to perhaps kill him. But in the context of the story, he leaves and she doesn't bash his brains in like he leaves and then he dies on his own. He either would have died. Yeah. He either would have died from the injuries, or he died by hitting his face on that crate and dying. It is what it is. Maybe it's semantics. Maybe it doesn't matter. But I think that Bix's point is not that she's bloodthirsty and turning vigilante.
Right.
I think she's taking autonomy of her own destiny.
Yeah, she didn't like rage out and beat the guy's face in. It was any court would say self-defense.
Yeah.
Right. But I also think there's just so many times where I'm like, I want to have the conversation, but I'm scared to start the conversation of like the reaction to like the Daredevil violence, right? Where like superheroes are for kids, but Daredevil's not a show for kids. So we can show this guy's head exploding and we're all like, yeah, you smushed his head. Whereas Star Wars is for kids, but Andor is not a show for kids.
Yeah.
And we can't show that, but this is like too far. And I'm like, but I think that it is, especially the American sensibilities, and essentially the younger generation, the prudishness, the purity culture of especially younger folk in America it's just, there's so many layers to the conversation.
Yeah.
It's an onion.
I also want to point out just a separate example is I was once watching, when I was younger, watching Terminator 3 on TV, and they edit out the language. They either made it silent or put in other words that were not dubbed in, right? Or they dub in other words. But there's a whole scene where Kristanna Loken's Terminator is behind a cop in a cop car, punches through the seat, through his chest, and drives the car through his body from behind.
Yeah, but that's cool.
So you can show that, but you can't have the cussing, which is weird. And that's kind of the weird thing about like American media, is that we can get all the violence we want. We just have to package it in a certain way. And we don't even get positive sexuality because it's packaged in just the fact that it's sexual.
Yeah.
And so it's so weird. Anyway, point being is that are you still there? I know I cut out a little bit.
Yeah,
okay.
You froze.
Point being is Andor comes in, Cassian comes in, he flies in, he shoots stormtroopers. The TIE Avenger TIE Avenger is, I think it's an Avenger, right? TIE Avenger. It's packed with all these goodies, so it knows when a person's alive that they have a heat signature. Like, he kills all of them, but not fast enough that Brazo doesn't get killed. He gets shot. We don't even see him get shot. Just and Cassian has to leave him behind.
I think that we see the stormtrooper that shoots him, because I rewatched it. At the very end, there's a stormtrooper that looks like he's doing a better job than everyone else. But I will say, as I was watching him like dodge the blaster blasts, I was like, in the moment, I thought to myself, like, this is a little unrealistic. He's really being able to dodge all those. And then I saw him lying dead, and I was like, no, I didn't mean it. Not like that. I didn't mean for him to actually get hit. But that it's the way they do the deaths in Andor of like just kind of a random, like, yeah, the last blaster bolt got him. Like, you were just a little bit too late. And the look on Cassian's face at the end when he's flying away, like, it's heartbreaking. There's just like Brasso's like his childhood friend, right? Like him and Brasso. And I was thinking about it, like, of who else like has Cassian lost. I mean, he lost Marva, but that was like to old age. Like that, she wasn't killed by the Empire or anything. But like, is Brasso the first one that
the first friend?
Yeah, the first like friend that he's lost to the Empire like this.
Friend,
I mean, there's
he was on missions.
There's like Nemec, right? The people that he was on missions with, but like a mission where you've all agreed, right? Like that this could happen, and then for your childhood best friend to get gunned down by a stormtrooper, then you have to keep him there. You have to leave him.
Yeah.
It's tragic.
Yeah.
Gave him a little kiss on the forehead. I was crying. And then had to leave him. And just the scale of the wheat fields, I thought was breathtaking. Like the them stalking through the fields with the blasters is like a perfect like little Andor moment of like got the stormtroopers within these wheat fields, like the visuals of it. I just really liked.
Isn't the opening scene of Rogue One very similar when they land on Galen Erso's planet and they're walking through like reeds or something? I forget what they're walking through.
Yeah. Because it's kind of it's like an island or it's like a beachfront, but yeah, there's like overgrown. Yeah.
Right? They're walking through like foliage, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, as that is happening, then we cut back to Mon Mothma just rocking out.
Yeah. Just so drunk.
I think we hit everything. Did we hit everything?
So good. It was so good.
Yeah.
It's very interesting because it's like, I don't know if I am just on the corner of the internet that really loves Andor, but it definitely seems like there is more love for it in season 2. I don't know if people like came around to season 1 because people like me were bothering them to be like, just watch through 4 episodes. And if you don't like it after that, then give it up. So I don't know if people gave it a second chance through word of mouth or if I've just walled myself in more of an echo chamber on the internet. Both are equally plausible, but I am seeing a lot of like, and maybe it is that it was done in the 3 episode arc. Because when you think about the first 3 of the first season, it wasn't necessarily, it was like the table setting first 3 episodes, right? Like, we're going to introduce you to everybody. And then it was like, here's the heist episode. Here's the jailbreak episode, right?
Yeah.
So the first 3 were much more of like a little bit of Cassian backstory, a little bit, of who everybody is. So that we're starting right off the bat with like this perfectly encapsulated little 3 episode. And when I heard they were doing 3 episodes, I was like, cool, Star Wars movie every week, right? But it like this perfectly encapsulated. Interesting how it didn't feel like a movie. Like, it felt like a really good 3 episode arc of a TV show.
Or a miniseries.
Yeah.
Like back in the day when they used to do miniseries.
Yeah, very Band of Brothers. My favorite miniseries of all time. Yeah, it was.
It's fun.
I have like almost nothing negative to say about it.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, other than it starts off slow, but I feel like both seasons start off a little slower than it was. But what it is season 1 starts off slow and picks up, and then season 2 starts off slow, but it's better than it's still faster than what season 1 started off with. So it's still
going straight into like a clear arc for the first 3 episodes, because I know they showed the first episode at Celebration, and I think Jen was like, she's like, I have pacing questions, but I know we're gonna get 3 episodes. So like, only seeing the first one without knowing that the general public was getting 3 at a time, saying like, well, it seemed a little slow, but I understand. I'm like, I think it was a good decision to do 3 at a time, because I really enjoyed it. I mean, granted, I'll never know what it was like the other way around. And maybe at the end of the 4 weeks, I'll be like, I actually think it was bad because that went way too fast. But the nice thing about a TV show is once the episodes are out, you can always just watch it again, So it'll seem like it went too fast, but you can always just rewatch it 80 times.
We've talked about this previously on many after shows that we've done, is that like, what about the TV culture? Like, we're going to be talking about these 3 episodes for 1 week until the next episode comes out.
Yeah.
For 1 week, we talk about the 3 episodes as a whole, and we don't break it down. I personally would have liked season 2 to have been like season 1, where you drop 3 episodes at first, and you have 1 episode after that until it ends.
Yeah.
Because think about the jailbreak, whole arc of the jailbreak stuff. If you had watched it all at once to begin with, I don't know whether it would have hit. Not quite as good.
I did see someone say, the jailbreak thing, he was just in jail for such a long time. And I was like, that is, I think, the point. Like, he's in jail. Like, if he hopped out of jail, if he got in jail and hopped out of jail in the same episode, it would have been kind of meaningless seeming. But that you had to spend that much time with him in the jail, kind of building up to it.
I hope there's official titles for each of these arcs in season 2 that we can call them by something, But
what do you think of? I saw someone theorize on TikTok that they think that B2 is going to get uploaded into K2SO.
That would suck because he would die.
Do you want B2 to just like live his life on what is it, Mina Rao? Like, do you hope that we never see him again?
No, I hope Bix lives with B2. That's my perfect ending. I don't think Bix needs to die. I don't. I think the whole part of this is that, and I don't want to be insensitive, so let's not connect this to real life, but if Bix was not tortured by the Imperial interrogation machine, would she have fought back in this arc? Again, I don't want to apply it to real world situations in that respect. I'm talking about the human psyche and when you choose to fight back and when you choose not to. I don't know. But Bix specifically as a character, would she have? I don't know. I would hope that these problems that are happening to her are making her stronger in that respect. Like, the first one that happened to her was horrible, and now she can finally like take autonomy and never let this happen to her or anyone else around her ever again. And maybe that's what her character will do. Maybe she won't join the rebellion, but maybe she will be a protector of sorts for whatever new community that she's in.
Because I think we're drawing a clear arc of like characters that are getting to the point, like with Mon, or at the point maybe with Cassian, of like all in on the rebellion. Like, I know that I'm probably not going to see the end of it, right? With Luthen, I'm burning my soul for a sunrise I'll never see, right?
So
like,
good.
So like this idea of like, we're not going to get out of this, but we are going to defeat the Empire, right? And if Bix gets to a point where she has to make that choice and she doesn't, right? And it's like, I've done enough, like, but I can't give my life up for this, but like, I'll do what I can. Then I think that would be an interesting arc for Bix of like, and then that will be interesting to connect to Jin, right? When we get to Jin, of Jin being like, I'm willing to give it up, right? for this. Um, and being able to say that doesn't make Bix weak, that doesn't make Bix bad, that just means that Bix, has already given up enough for the rebellion, and and is just gonna go take care of B2 and help on a small scale. But yeah, I'm interested to see where Bix, I hope she survives it. I think of all the characters that are going to not survive it, I would be most sad about Bix. I would love it if she could survive it. Yeah, with B. I thought it was interesting when someone was like, because there's a couple moments where you do see a sassiness, right, from B that reminds you of K2, and I wonder.
I hope not.
Or I wonder if when he reprogrammed him, Cassian reprogrammed K2 to have a B2 like personality, right? Because it is, the way B is always asking about Cassian, like they say it's not going to be too long, and he's like, it's already been too long, right? And the way that K2 is like, I'll be there for you, Cassian said I had to.
Yeah.
So if that's just the kind of droid that Cassian likes, so that's how he programs him, would also, I think, be an interesting thing.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see K2. I love him.
I mean, we'll definitely see what happens. Nick on the YouTube chat says hoping for a Bail Organa cameo. I actually heard that he is gonna cameo and that he got recasted. It's not gonna be Jimmy Smits. It's Lou Diamond Phillips. That's what I heard.
You did that's not a joke. That's a real thing that you heard.
Yeah. I think I read that, and I could be wrong.
Why would they recast Jimmy Smits?
I don't know. He's the only person who's ever played him.
Because he's in Rogue One. So I'll be interested.
Yeah, according to MSN.com. Yeah. According to MSN.com, according to I don't know. I don't know whether we have confirmed sources. All right, but anyway, that's supposedly what might happen. So I don't know.
Tony Gilroy said in an interview that a legacy character had to be recast because, despite their best attempts, the original actor had prior commitments.
I think it's the Jimmy Smits
interesting
thing. So yeah. Anyway, as we close this up, this is a weekly show for at least 4 episodes of the After Show, each one covering 3 episodes of Andor as they drop. But, we do the After Show on Saturdays. It will be me, it will be Sarah as my co-host, and then we'll have some other guests popping in on subsequent episodes. But Sarah, thank you so much for coming here and being the guest and the co-host.
Of course.
Where can people find you? What do you got coming up? Anything you want to plug?
You can find me at Instagram and TikTok at Ms_Marauder. We are getting ready for Star Wars night coming up in about a week.
I'll be there.
And then when are you going?
May 4th.
Are you going to May 4th? Oh, okay. Sweet.
Yeah.
We'll be there on May 4th. And
by the way, anyone out there, Disneyland is doing a special thing for May 4th. And so both of us are going.
So I'm throwing together a Jod. Evie's going to be in KB. And then we will be full on prepping for Anime Expo and San Diego Comic-Con. So we got a couple new cosplays coming. So we'll have that going on. Awesome. And then today I'm gonna go see Sinners.
It's great. It's great.
In IMAX. I'm very excited.
Mm-hmm. All right.
I was gonna go and then I realized I don't want to go on a weekday at 2 p.m.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go today.
That's fair. Definitely see it in IMAX. For anyone out there who needs to see Sinners, see it in IMAX. Thank you to everybody in our YouTube chat. Special thanks to Nick Bellis.
From Belgium. He's in Belgium.
Shout out to Belgium. Nick Bellis is leaving. That's what you call a Belgium dip.
Yeah.
Shout out to Basco Scenario. who was here earlier in the first half of this after show. It was a long after show. We talked about a lot. So thank you, Sarah, for bringing the commentary and experience and opinions and everything. So best co-host. So thank you.
Oh.
For everyone out there who wants to follow me personally, you can follow me at This Is Dimithri on Instagram, or if you're like an old person, Facebook. I do have like a special page, facebook.com/This Is Dimithri or whatever. But what was I going to say?
Shout out to the elderly.
Shout out to the elderly who followed me because I was on a game show for a very long amount of time, and then they found my Facebook, my fan page. I made the fan page just for my like acting stuff or whatever, and they follow me there and would message me. They were very nice, very nice. But if you want to follow the Keeg, this is the Andor after show for season 2, brought to you by the Keeg. The Keeg is our podcast channel. You can find us on social media at the Keeg Show on TikTok and Instagram. We're also on like Threads and Blue Sky and all that at the Keeg Show / the Keeg Show, all over social media. So wherever you can find us, find us. If you're watching us live, you're watching us on youtube.com/the Keeg Show or twitch.tv/the Keeg Show, or you're listening to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts from, whether it's Apple Podcasts or Spotify or iHeartRadio or Audible or Amazon Music or SoundCloud. We're on all those podcast platforms. So definitely check us out. This is the Andor After Show. If you want to check out the first season of the Andor After Show, we had like 12 episodes of that or whatever, like 9 episodes of that, 8-10 episodes, whatever. You can find that. That's on our every YouTube and podcasts and stuff like that. If you want to listen to that. We also got other shows that we do, like Comic Talk. Every Thursday we're talking about comic books and whatnot. So stay tuned for all of that. What was I going to say? If you want to find Star Wars comics, go to comicshoplocator.com, find a comic shop near you, support your local comic shops, and then support your local public libraries because, I don't know, libraries need our support. That's pretty much it. Thank you, Sarah, so much for being on this episode. Thank you, everybody out there, for watching. Next week, we're going to be talking about episodes 4 through 6 of Andor Season 2, so definitely stay tuned. Once again, I am your host, Dimithri Perera, and
your co-host, Sarah.
And this has been another episode of the Andor After Show for Season 2, episodes 1 to 3. Take care, everybody. See you next week.
Bye.